First, we must distinguish between the moderate and the radical, between the activist and the anarchist. This is critical. There's a difference between the two, and all of us must recognize it. The activist is seriously dedicated to social change. He knows this change will be difficult, but he believes it must come in a peaceful manner. The anarchist seeks only ruin and destruction, and he rides a tidal wave.
What's anarchism?
Anarchism, oh my goodness. Taking over by the government, by the people and government. I really don't know. I know it's all a big mess.
What's anarchism?
Anarchism is when anyone does whatever they want without concern for anyone else.
What kind of image does that evoke for you?
Chaos.
What's anarchism? I would say that it's a person trying to push his views down everybody's throat.
What do you think? And what do you think?
Anarchy, yes, I think I'd agree with that. It's a dominant view of one person over everyone else.
Do you know anyone who's an anarchist now?
Yes, I do.
Who's that?
The Ayatollah Khomeini.
Herself an anarchist. If he or she believed that society could be managed without the state. And by the state, I don't mean the absence of any institutions, the absence of any form of social organization. The state really refers to a professional apparatus of people who are set aside to manage society, to preempt the control of society from the people. So that would include the military, judges, politicians, representatives who are paid for the express purpose of legislating, and an executive body that is also set aside from society. So anarchists generally believe that whether as groups or individuals, people should directly run society.
The anarchists see the state and the church as the twin evils of oppression in modern society. In addition to opposing the state and wanting to abolish or do away with the state, all anarchists believe in a decentralized form of society. They saw the great trends of the 19th, 20th century seem to be, at least superficially, towards more and more centralization, great hierarchies, where the individual was losing his sense of individuality and his power to the state, both economic and political. So the anarchists were individualists, they were federalists in advocating a loose-knit, decentralized society. They were anti-statists, they were anti-militarists, passionately against warfare, preaching love and brotherhood rather than hatred and war.
Envisioned a world without leaders, a system of mutual aid made up of interlocking federations and communes. The anarchists hoped their persistent educational efforts would pay off when the working classes would spontaneously rise up and overthrow their oppressors.
A common sense thread that's run throughout human history of people running their own lives, their own communities without bosses or central government.
Simply put, anarchism is its freedom. And that's, without hurting other people, of course, or infringing on the freedom of others.
Well, fundamentally, anarchism is a challenge to all illegitimate authority and power.
Basically, anarchism, what it means is that the belief that we need to reduce to the greatest extent possible all hierarchies of power, control, and status.
Anarchism is a society based on mutual aid, self-sufficiency, non-hierarchy.
So in the political arena, we want more democracy, not less. We want direct democracy, not representative democracy.
From what I understand, what they stuff that stand for would probably be diametrically opposed to what I stand for. As a Bible believer, the scriptures set forth that we do need government.
Some of the more well-known anarchist figures are people like Mikhail Bakunin,
Peter Kropotkin,
Emma Goldman.
Of anarchism, a social philosophy which aims at the emancipation, economic, social, political, and spiritual of the human race.
Malatesta, etc.
Or, more recently, people like Noam Chomsky.
The anti-state branch of socialism, which meant a highly organized society, completely organized, nothing to do with chaos, but based on a democracy all the way through. That means democratic control of communities, of workplaces, of federal structures built on systems of voluntary association spreading internationally. That's traditional anarchism.
Howard Zinn.
You don't need to have ever read any of these people or heard of any of these people to be an anarchist, and to be a damn good anarchist, you don't have to ever have heard of any of these people.
They have fought with Spokane police in Riverfront Park. They bring food to the hungry and homeless, and are the same group who put up those AutoZem for Sheriff signs around town last fall. We're talking about Spokane's anarchists. Tonight, we want you to know more about who they are, what they do. KXLY4's Jeff Humphrey, live at the Public Safety Building with a KXLY4 Focus Anarchism 101. Jeff?
Richard, Spokane's anarchists are smart and determined and use the internet to provide leadership in an organization that really isn't supposed to have any. Most anarchists simply want better things for our world, but at least a few of them are using their beliefs as an excuse to break the law.
Police! Police! Police!
Our local anarchist movement is growing in both size and visibility. SLAC stands for Spokane's Lack of Action Collective, and like the name implies, promotes the need for radical changes in society.
The main platform to focus on of what we're trying to get across is that another world is possible, and we should at least be talking about it.
Getting people to talk about corruption in big business or government means getting the public's attention, and groups like SLAC know desecrating an American flag is one way to do it.
The idea of tearing the flag in the park was not to desecrate it to offend anybody or anything along those lines, which of course is inevitable, but the idea is to get rid of an old symbol to make way for new things. 24-year-old Travis Reel has been indicted for vandalizing symbols that represent the U.S. military as well. Reel's accused of breaking windows and spray painting "Leave Us Alone" at 2 National Guard recruiting stations in 2005. Reel won't comment on the allegations, but says some property crimes are an acceptable way of advocating change. We feel that corporations and logos and things like that we're bombarded with, and ideologies and traditions are all entrapping us and keeping us stagnant and as a society. And we feel that atypical actions kind of break the spell that holds on people, and we're trying to wake people up.
However, Spokane police and the FBI think some of those wake-up calls are illegal and dangerous. The group documented its 2005 burglaries of downtown buildings on its website. Anarchists are also suspected of vandalizing a Spokane Starbucks, breaking a window and gluing door locks shut. Anarchists, another Spokane group called ASAP, or Alternative Solutions and Possibilities, would like to distance itself from illegal forms of protest.
We understand freedom as eliminating authority so then we can work to our full potential. And our goals is to build community with community, localize things.
As part of its commitment to the community, ASAP distributes food to the homeless in its Food Not Bombs program. However, group members still view civil disobedience as a way of effecting change and point to history as their inspiration.
A lot of people seem to have the idea that you can't break the law to change it. And I would have to say that Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad would disagree with you, and that so would Rosa Parks when she didn't get off the bus.
In Spain, during the Civil War of 1936, 3 million peasants and workers rallied under the banners of the anarchist organizations, the CNT and the FAI, to fight the fascist uprising in Barcelona. Spanish anarchists organized a whole system of production and distribution, substituting barter for money and shop committees instead of bosses or central committees.
Anarchist militias went to fight at the front, with soldiers free to come and go as they pleased. Collectives established libraries, free schools, and cultural centers, often in former churches or villas of the wealthy. For 3 years, anarchism existed in Spain. It was the culmination of nearly a century of agitation and organization that had created movements throughout Europe, Russia, and Latin America.
For
For over 30 years, Christiania, the free town in the heart of the Danish capital of Copenhagen, has been flourishing as an alternative liberal society. Today, some thousand people, more known as Christianites, live and work on this 85 acres of Greenland, which has also become one of the most famous tourist attractions in Denmark, with over 1 million visitors a year. This might all soon come to an end. In May of 2009, the ruling of the ongoing court case between the Danish state and the Christianites regarding user rights will be determined. Christiania offers today a wide range of restaurants, bars, factories and public services. The free town's own health clinic offers first aid as well as traditional and alternative medical treatments.
Christiania, det et åndehul i et samfund, som meget hængt op på regler og direktiver og ikke noget selvbestemmelse. Retten til at bestemme lidt selv.
Dollars. And while most brush off the demonstrators as anarchists, RT's Anastasia Turkina has discovered it's a far more organized setup.
These are anarchists. These are the people that, burn down the store.
Accused of being anarchist and disorganized, the Occupy Wall Street encampment is far from chaotic. It is set up like a small village, broken up into themed sections.
Way better organized than I thought it would be. They really have it set up so that there isn't a clear leader in the organization and the way that it's being done, but at the same time, every part seems to be handled by someone.
A medical area staffed by volunteers provides on-the-spot assistance. A comfort area supplies sweaters and blankets to keep demonstrators warm as the season gets chillier, while the donated sleeping bags pile up as the number of protesters grows bigger. A kitchen providing a traditional American breakfast, bread, bagels, and peanut butter and jelly. Plant roots are used to filter water here. Media Center has been broadcasting a live stream from day one of the protests for already 3 weeks. It is also spread in more traditional ways.
The status board helps protesters keep up to date with occupation developments. Today is day 21 of Occupy Wall Street. 0 chance of rain. The number of arrests to date at over 834.
A library area lets protesters relax and educate themselves with literature fitting most tastes.
Fiction.
Occupy Wall Street prides itself in being a peaceful grassroots democratic movement without leaders.
There are just different decisions made by different groups. If there's to be some decision that's going to supposedly speak on behalf of everyone here, then that would need to happen at the evening General Assembly and need to be consented on by everyone here.
All of the many cooks in this kitchen are here to cook up one thing, a revolution of change in America. Anastasia Turkina, RT, New York.
There are dozens of brands and sub-factions of anarchy out there now, from anarcho-syndicalism to green anarchism to mutualism, and everything in between.
What were movements and ideologies, if you like, that really were liberatory, that really freed people of this hierarchical sensibility and mentality, of this authoritarian outlook, of this complete assimilation by the work ethic? And I now began to turn very consciously toward anarchist views, because anarchism posed the question not simply of a struggle between classes based upon economic exploitation. Anarchism really was posing a much broader historical question that even goes beyond our industrial civilization. Not just classes, but hierarchy. Hierarchy as it exists in the family. Hierarchy as it exists in the school. Hierarchy as it exists in sexual relationships. Hierarchy as it exists between ethnic groups. Not only class divisions based upon economic exploitation. And it was concerned not only with economic exploitation, it was concerned with domination. Domination which may not even have any economic meaning at all. The domination of women by men in which women are not economically exploited. The domination of ordinary people by bureaucrats, in which you may even have a welfare, so-called socialist type of state. Domination as it exists today in China, even when you're supposed to have a classless society. Domination even as it exists in Russia, where you are supposed to have a classless society. You see, so these are the things that I noted in anarchism, and increasingly I came to the conclusion that if we were to avoid, or if we are to avoid, the mistakes that were made over 100 years of proletarian socialism, if we are to really achieve a liberatory movement, not simply in terms of economic questions, but in terms of every aspect of life, we would have to turn to anarchism, because it alone posed the problem not merely of class domination, but hierarchical domination. And it alone posed the question not simply of economic exploitation, but exploitation in every sphere of life.